Elevation Nation. We have on an incredible man to the podcast today, and I'm struggling with his intro because he's quite the Renaissance man. He's got a lot of different backgrounds, only a couple jobs that he's doing, a couple parts of his business, just moved, buying a house, has a baby on the way. Trev Gross Jr., welcome to Elevation Nation. It is an honor to finally welcome you into our community. Thank you for being here, man.
Man, it is an honor. I appreciate you guys. Sam, Parker, what you guys are doing is awesome. So it's just cool to partner with people who are trying to make a difference in the world, you know, especially a positive influence. So I'm grateful, truly.
We are grateful.
We're grateful. And I know we met back in Atlanta a couple months back. We got snowed in a hotel.
Did we?
We got snowed in Atlanta, which is pretty funny because I feel like they were not prepared. I was just in Colorado. It snowed a foot in 2 days, and you know, everyone's driving, everyone's outside. The complete opposite. But Trev, to your point, you know, when we learned about you and what you're up to and your story and how you're trying to make an impact on others, obviously resonated so much with what we do at Elevation Nation. So grateful that we could get some time with you and pick your brain and just shoot the thing. Yeah. Have a good conversation.
I love it.
Let's do it. So, I mean, I think I kind of have to, before we jump into our first question, give a little bit of a background story into how we met. Parker mentioned we were in Atlanta. So we were down in Atlanta, Elevation Nation, you may remember, a couple months ago with EY to speak to a bunch of college kids about mental fortitude, about Elevation Nation, and how they can conquer the real world. And so we had a bunch of, you know, young college kids. I mean, they're all taller than me, coming up to me after trying to get pictures with Parker and I felt like a celebrity. And then Trev comes over. It's like, if this kid's in college, man, I'm in trouble because I don't know about that. These kids are looking older and older. And he's like, hey, my wife is here. She works for EY. You guys are awesome. We got to talk. And so we hopped on the phone a couple days later. Obviously, Trev shared a little bit about his story and what he's building at Craft Your Dream. And I was like, dude, this is perfect. Come on the podcast. Let's talk about it. So, Trev, let's jump into your elevator pitch. Share with Elevation Nation who you are and what you're building.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. So first things first, I mean, I'm a husband, soon to be father. Those are two of my best titles that I, you know, cherish the most, especially in this season. But outside of that, professionally, I'm a leadership coach. In 2019, I started Craft Your Dream, and where our mission is simply to coach dreamers to achieve their biggest goals. And we have a vision to basically see 100,000 visionary leaders making an impact on their communities and culture. Simply because one of the things I identified through my experience in sports and now entrepreneurship, you know, the world really does improve when dreamers grow. And, you know, in that growth, you know, especially at least for dreamers, people who have big dreams but few resources, a big dream but have no idea where to start and all these things, I really am passionate about equipping those people with the tools, equipping them with the stuff necessary to say, hey, you might not have it all figured out. You have a good idea of what the destination looks like. But you know what? Let's figure out just some things that you can do right now to make it happen. But then also my role is in helping you get clarity on the next step, but also making sure you take the next step through accountability. And so within Craft Your Dream, we have, you know, I have a podcast as well, the Dream Lifestyle Podcast, centered all around self-leadership. But we have some coaching programs, and then we have an annual growth conference where called the Dreamer Symposium, where we pretty much just help you create a vision for the new year. Because I'm a big advocate for setting yearly goals. I'm a huge advocate for it, just because, again, the stats back it up. And I think it just helps an individual focus. So, you know, that's the elevator pitch of what I do, and I absolutely love it. Just because, again, it's all about helping people grow.
It sounds, I mean, as you're talking through it, it sounds so like similar, and I just put like a big smile on my face. You know, my heart felt big and whole because it's like, Sam, we're talking the same language. You know, obviously, Trev, you've been doing this since 2019. Sam and I have been building Elevation Nation since 2020, and we are on a similar mission. I mean, the words you can kind of interchange, whatever you want to call it, but we're on a mission to help people elevate their mental fortitude, look inside who they are, what they want out of life, and find what inspires them so that they can go build that dream life, whatever it might be. So, I mean, we're all talking the same language here. I'm curious, you know, we always dive into people's background. Like, how did you get to that point where you were like, wait, I want to start a company around, you know, personal leadership and fulfillment?
So, it's funny. Just to your point about speaking the same language, that's how I felt when I was in Atlanta seeing you guys. And I was like, oh man, like these guys are talking the same language, like this somewhat of a like more of a niche audience, but like man, I got to connect with these guys at the very least. Like I got to at least give them the props. But no, so for me, what really started it, if I'm being like totally honest, right? This is Elevation Age, I can be honest. I didn't want to work for anybody. like I just straight up knew because
Fair.
I don't have uh, a formal education in business or anything like that. I was just like a sociology major, so I understood people. I'm also in ministry, so like I have a good understanding of people. But I have absolutely zero background in business. So I just knew, at least when I got out of college, I don't want to work for anybody just because that's just my personality. That's just so entrepreneurship was just the way. But I also knew that I genuinely had a passion for helping people. So when I reflected back just in my time in college, like I played college basketball, I had an amazing experience there where I learned, mental fortitude. I learned discipline. I knew how to do one thing 1,000 times and be okay with it and do it another 100,000 times. Like I learned all those skills. But I also really reflect on a lot of my conversations I was having, even with teammates or even just with, other students that I was going to school with. And a lot of it was centered around, hey, you said you were going to do that. Like, what happened with that? Did you follow through with that? Okay, what are you thinking about doing this, that, and third? And like, I just found this common thread where I genuinely enjoyed having those conversations. And so that kind of at least helped guide me to, what, I want to build something. Because keep in mind, like, again, I'm saying this with zero business background. Like, I don't know the language. I don't know, I didn't even know EIN number. I didn't know mission statement, really. I was just like, I just want to build something that helps people achieve their dreams. Like, that was like the most language I had. And so I started Craft Your Dream, made it a nonprofit because I didn't want people to think I was in it for the money. Which again, looking back, it was probably the most intelligent, unintelligent move in my business, which is still a nonprofit, but like it was just for like a totally different reason than most people make a nonprofit. But it was like no, it was right. But so I basically made it a nonprofit. And then from there, I was just like, what, let's just try stuff. So I just started with t-shirts. Then I started with virtual events. Keep in mind, this was all before I even knew I was a coach. Like, I was just like, I'm just doing stuff. Like, I don't know what this industry is. And I remember I had a friend of mine from church, older gentleman. He came up to me after church and he was like, yeah, we're in the coaching industry together. And I was like, we are? Okay, we're in the coaching industry. And so and I say that story just because jokingly that helped give me focus on like, okay, well, at least now I know what the heck I'm building. Because before, like I had no idea, guys, like literally zero idea. But once I actually knew, okay, I'm in the coaching industry, now I was able to look at what are some other successful coaching models, coaching businesses that are going on. What do they have? What do they look like? How do they function? And one thing about me, I am a intense learner. Like, you give me a subject, you in like a couple of hours, like I'm going to read books, I'm going to watch YouTube videos, I'm going to inhale all the information I need just to learn. And so that's pretty much just my attitude just towards it. And that's pretty much just how I got started, man. Like, it was just figuring this thing out bit by bit, year after year. And I would honestly say, like, in 2019, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I have a very clear understanding of how to run a business now in 2025.
Can you teach us? Because I don't think we know what we're doing, and I went to business school. So it's
no problem.
a very similar, again, story. We have so much in common, right? Of Parker and I, we started Elevation Nation. It was not a business. It was, how do we get to talk to people cooler than us? That was essentially what it was. We were young adults lost, and we said we want to start a podcast because that makes people want to have a conversation with us. We've been developing it into a business, into whatever you want to call it is now, very, very slowly. And there hasn't really been, we tried. I tried to do everything that they taught me in business school with Parker. Parker probably hated me. I was like, dude, we need our business plan. We need to file an LLC. We need all this stuff ready. And instead, we took a step back and was just like, we are working for someone else. We have a great employer. We love them, EY. But let's try to build something on the side and just see where it takes us and adjust as we kind of fly this plane. And so it's been fun for us. I obviously want to dive into that. But something popped up for me that I want to push on a little bit more. Elevation Nation, we don't go in a straight path here. You mentioned, obviously, playing basketball at Virginia. I'm a big hoops guy. Coach Bennett,
Yes,
great
sir.
dude. You mentioned as well that you knew you didn't want to work for someone else. And I found that very interesting because in sports, especially team sports, you are part of a machine, a team put together by a leader, someone telling you exactly what to do. And this someone being one of the best coaches in the game of all time. And what I can imagine is someone, a man that you respect very, very much as a human being and a coach.
Yes.
And so I find it very interesting, myself included. I had some great coaches, as did Parker in our athletics, that we all said, I don't actually want to work for someone. Having just spent our entire young adulthood essentially idolizing and working for someone else and doing exactly what they said. Why do you think there is that kind of switch up in so many young athletes going from I will do what a coach is telling me to do to I've seen them lead and now I want to lead myself?
Well, honestly, I do believe like great leaders produce great leaders. And so because of that, I mean, Coach Bennett he's one of the greatest coaches of all time for sure from an X's and O's basketball standpoint. But honestly, like, and I tell everybody this, like everyone, Coach Bennett is one of the best human beings like I've ever seen in my life. And so honestly, just from his example that he set from just his leadership, man, like he made it very clear what the standard was. He didn't make it a big hoopla thing. Like it was just like, hey, you meet the standard. This is what defense looks like. This is what I expect on offense. This is how I expect you guys to carry yourself. This is what I expect you guys to do. And just how his DNA of that was just within all the rest of the coaching staff with his 5 pillars and everything like that. Like there was just so much clarity surrounding a lot of things where he did such a great job of building the program to where he didn't really need to say too much because the conversation was really centered around, okay, did you meet the standard? Yes or no? And if you did, then great. Like, this is a great conversation. We could talk. But if you didn't, like, as the player, at least in that situation, and the same thing even in a business corporate structure, it's like, if you don't meet the standard, then, like, there's really nothing to talk about. There's no real negotiation just because you're not going to negotiate against a machine that's working. So we can't really do the whole who's right, who's wrong thing. It's literally like, if you're not meeting the standard, then you better switch up. Like, you have to change. And so really being under his leadership for the years that I was, really helped me understand like, okay, this is what good leadership looks like. And so it's kind of like a catch-22, or I should say it's kind of like a paradox just because it's like once you see that level of leadership and you go to see other forms of leadership, then it's kind of like, oh man, where's my clarity? Oh God, where? Like you just kind of reach a point of like, yeah, I think I have enough stuff or I have enough experience, and enough awareness to see what works. Because I'm very clear on what made Virginia. I'm very clear on it. Just because like I paid that much attention and I honored him in such a way to where it's like, you know what? I believe I can translate these things in my leadership. And the beautiful part about it is like with these skills and these traits that we're talking about, they transition across industries. So it doesn't exist only in athletics where, a leader being clear on vision, clear on standard, clear on goals and, expectations and everything like that. Like these are things that apply across the board. So I probably over-answered your question, but that's why I think, would cause a lot of younger athletes, particularly if they had a really good coach, to say like, yeah, I don't really want to work for anybody else because I believe I've been equipped enough to lead myself well. And then you just deal with the nuances of, everybody's situation and preferences and all that type of stuff. But that's why I think like great leaders produce great leaders.
That's a great point. I love to hear that. I mean, I think about leaders in my life and people I've always looked up to, and you look around the room and how people gravitate towards them. And there's just an aura, a feeling when that person is leading a conversation or leading whatever it might be. You feel that, and then in return, you almost you feel like you have to like take that on, and you're learning, and then you can now pass that on to the next person you're leading, and next on, and so on. So you graduated what in 2018 or 2019?
So I graduated from UVA in 2018, and then I did a grad year in 2019, and then I was done. And then at that point, I pursued overseas basketball, played a little bit in Mexico, and then I retired officially in 2022, I want to say. 2022 or 2021, one of those two.
Okay. So you're building this while playing basketball.
Yep.
Incredible. And so talk us through a little bit more about some of those first clients that you're working with. What are you helping them inspired to see within themselves, and like what is what you're doing is helping those people, especially at the beginning?
Oh man, in the beginning, I mean, I was just trying to help everybody and anybody just with anything. Like literally just if it helped them move better in their lives. Like one of the things I talked a lot about, especially early on and still do, is confidence. Because I found that a lot of times people aren't executing just because they just aren't confident in themselves. Right? They're confident in the goal, they're confident in their planning, but they aren't confident enough in themselves to actually make a move, to actually get started. And so, I ran a lot of different workshops and things like that focused around confidence. Overall, just traditional strategizing and goal setting. A lot of people, I find there's two types of people. Like either you don't take your goal serious enough or you just don't go deep enough. And there's statistics that back this thing up because you need more than just, okay, I want to do better in this area, right? It needs to be more than, okay, this quarter, this season, this year, whatever, I want to make more money. Like, no, how much? Like, what are the actions? What's the plan attached to you making more money? Like, how do you make money so that way you can actually figure out, like, so that way you're not just setting like these goals that just lead you only to frustration because you didn't get specific enough, right? So I did a lot of that early on, just like having a lot of those conversations, like, hey, like, okay, why? Okay, is that really what you want? Like, does that really make sense for what you have going on? A lot of people in the early years and still today kind of have like competing interests where it's like, okay, well, you're saying you want to really pursue, your dating life and relationship life, but also at the same time, you're trying to advance in your professional career. But like the two almost can't exist just in your context. So like which one is more of a priority? So helping people prioritize kind of just like what they want to do, just because, I mean, especially after the pandemic, man, a lot of people are just kind of like all over. They're just like ripping and running from one thing to the next. Like, okay, I want to date, but I also want to make more money, but then also I want to have alone time, but then I also got to take care of my mental health. And it's like, okay, all these competing interests. So really helping people just like kind of prioritize, okay, what is the main thing right now? Like, what's the main thing right now? Let's get clear on what success looks like for that thing. And then let's execute on that thing and just reevaluate the rest when we get there. Because, if it's not a priority, a lot of the other things kind of take care of themselves. Right? Unless there's obviously like a fire going on in your life. But for the most part, if you focus on one thing, one area at a time, and you're confident in yourself that, you can execute at the level necessary, then you'll likely find success.
A silly analogy came to mind when Trev, you were explaining how many people treat their goals. I'm going to, I guess, age myself a little bit here. There was a show called Jimmy Neutron, hopefully Elevation Nation, some people know.
Oh my God.
But in Jimmy Neutron,
it's crazy that you have to say that you're aging yourself when you're talking about that show. Like it almost, to us, it's like, damn, that's so normal.
Every
That's
Saturday
our childhood. I know.
Yeah,
it's tough. But in it, I can't remember his name, but there's an evil villain, and he has all these projects that he does. But the gist of it is he can never complete one of the evil projects. He gets like 75% of the way there, and then that's it. And the premise of the whole show is like he can never finish anything. He just does it kind of 75%. I think that's so true with so many people out there that have big dreams, big ambitions, and big goals because they have all these things they want to take on. But yet we never really see them through to the goal that we set. We start, we maybe get a little momentum, and then we get distracted by the next shiny object and we run over there and say, well, that's right there. I got to at least do something here. I already started on this. Like, I'm good. Let me just jump over there and start this next one. And Parker and I, we fell victim to that trap when we were starting Elevation Nation and our own personal lives as young adults. Living in New York City, we had all these things in front of us, all these events and people and places and opportunities. And with the Elevation Nation, we had the podcast. We tried to make an app at one point. We wanted to do in-person events. We wanted to do all these things. And so instead now we've done something that I like to call the stack method, which is as soon as Parker and I have a part of our business that we feel like we can run without even talking to each other, it's just become a habit. I know that Parker will edit up the podcast after this. He'll make some great clips. I'm going to send you, Trev, a welcome email and packet. We're going to set up a strategy call with you. We're going to welcome you to the nation officially. Parker doesn't tell me to do that. I don't tell him to do it. We know. As soon as that felt comfortable, we said, okay, it's time to stack something else. Then we did a monthly newsletter. Now that that's comfortable, we stack something else. Now we have a keynote speech. Now that that's comfortable, we stack something else, right? And so we've taken that approach to at least finish something, because before we had all those dozen ideas and we just did little bits of it and none of them actually got through the finish line.
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting that with many of the young people you're working with, that's still an issue in their day-to-day.
Yeah.
Can I add something here?
Go ahead, Parker.
Yeah, I was just going to add something here. And to Sam's point is like, that's from our side and like our vision and what we want to do. But that's all grounded in our purpose. That's all grounded in why we are spending so much time in Elevation Nation. It's because we believe that the world will be better when people have mental fortitude. Because we believe mental fortitude is the missing piece that young people or any person needs so that they can get over the inevitable hardships and pains of life. And yes, what Sam's talking about is the stacking method, is how we build so that we can help inspire others to build their mental fortitude. And so I just wanted to make that clear. Is like, you can go out and build, but what are you building towards and why? And Sam and I consistently are getting real with ourselves. Why the hell are we spending so much time on this? Why have we recorded 400 episodes for this thing? It's because we're grounded in a shared purpose and cause that's inspired by, you know what? I mean, Trev, you heard it first. It's inspired by a lot of pain that we felt in our life.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, what I love about just you all sharing that is because, like, I'm gonna use a different language for your stack method, but there was a commitment to mastery. Like, before we even get to, you know, the keynote, then this, it's like, no, let's commit ourselves to, hey, let's master this podcast to where now it becomes automatic. I forget there's a psychological term for it. I believe it's like autoplasticity, where basically as like mentally, when we have to like focus on something, where we actually have to put brain power towards doing it. But if we do it enough, we don't even have to think about, like, for example, you don't even have to think about starting your car and putting it in gear because you just do it so often, right? When I was playing basketball, like, I didn't have to really think about like which finger the ball was coming off of, just because like I did it so often, right? But there was a time when we had to really think through those things, right? You guys remember when we first drove a car, you're kind of just like, okay, the key goes in there, and then afterward, okay, I got to put the foot on the brake, then move, right? But like, now it's very much like, now it's just like, all right, I'm out of here, right? Whereas before there was like real intention. We had to really think that through. And the same is true just in you all's context with Elevation Nation. And the same was true with me with business, where, you know, when I first started, man, I was running around t-shirts, online events. Then I'm also trying to, you know, do podcasting too. And then also I'm trying to reach out to get more clients. Like, it was just like so much. And it was like, you know what? Let me just commit myself to one thing based on purpose, right? Parker, to what you were saying, right? Where it's like one thing based on the difference I'm trying to make, the purpose I'm trying to deliver to people. And that's what's driving, that's what's giving me the fuel for everything. But practically, I need to master these things so that way things just get easier, but we're growing the right way. Because one of the things that is, and I'm obsessed with this topic of building, like one of the misconceptions that people have around building is like, not all building is good. Like, there is a way. Like, you don't want your business to grow too fast. You don't want your business to grow too slow. You want your business, your life, right? Because let me not even just talk to only business leaders, right? Like, you want everything in your life to grow intentionally. There's a difference between growing intentionally and growing too fast. So we want to make sure, like, no, this is growing and I know exactly why it's growing. Because if something's growing and you don't know why, it can sound amazing right now, but you'd be in trouble. like you'd really be in trouble if you don't know why something's working, right? Like, for both of us, right? If a million, we'll just say, of our ideal customer just hit our emails right now, like, and we don't know why, like, we don't know where these people came from. Like, surface level, oh my God, excitement. Yes, we've done it, y'all. We're out of here, right? Like, like, yes. But moving forward, it's kind of like, wait a minute, where did all these people come from? Wait, they found us where? Now we got systems, now we probably got new overhead that we don't know about. Like, we got to understand like how this thing really runs. So as it grows, we're actually in control. We have an understanding of what we're building so we can honor the purpose that we're trying to deliver, right? Because things can just grow, you know, too fast. So that's one of the things I just want to comment on, where like I love hearing just like that commitment to mastery, to say, all right, let's kind of refine this so that way we can really step by step. And I love that language of just stack method. I love that. I think that's really, really good and really, really helpful.
Thank you. I I think it's spot on with what you said of we need to be intentional with how we're growing. And it gets frustrating at times because I wish we were growing faster. I think all of us do. But you're so right of there's a world where you could grow too fast. I mean, if Parker and I had customers coming at us when we just had the podcast, we had nothing to offer them. We just had a podcast, right? Like we hadn't developed anything that we could give them to help them grow. And so I think that's so smart of, stacking, but stacking intentionally so you can master something. But what's the plan with that?
Yeah.
I want to move us a little bit, Trev, to talk about all the amazing things that you've been building, right? With Craft Your Dream, you have in so many things that you're now offering that you've stacked up over time and mastered. Talk to us a little bit about that. And then I have a follow-up question on some of the language you chose for your business that I want to get intentional about finding out why you chose those words.
Oh, absolutely. So I would say there's three main components to Craft Your Dream. Right now, it's the podcast, which is just free resources. Like I have a level where there's just a bunch of free stuff. Like I got free guides, free resources, free this, free that. Just for people who, they want to invest in themselves, but they might not be comfortable in terms of investing financially into themselves. So making sure that something's available to them, right? So my podcast, I do teaching. I do have guests now and things like that where we're talking about self-leadership. We're talking about mindset. We're talking about goals, just basically content that will help them take one step towards who they need to become in order to achieve the goals. That's the free tier. The next tier of that is our coaching programs. Right now, there's only 2 coaching programs, right? There's 2. The first one is the Builder Circle, which is a 90-day program to help somebody build their life for breakthrough, where we deal with focus, we deal with, vision for the year, your goals, and your proper, making sure that you're strategizing well for it, as well as keeping people accountable to the plan. So every week, people get sent an accountability form that they fill out. We have one-on-one coaching calls based on how they're progressing and things like that, helping people navigate through any pivots, transitions, and things like that just life's going to throw at you. And so that's one of the programs. The second program is the Builder's Blueprint that's happening later on in this year, where it's specific for business leaders who want to build a profitable and purpose-driven business, where I'm basically showing them how to do it in 3 moves. Just because outside of Craft Your Dream, I also have a production company that does very well. But I learned these 3 moves. And so I pretty much have been teaching other CEOs these moves. And so I'm excited to roll that out. But that's the second tier, where it is pretty much just, those coaching programs where I'm a lot more hands-on. And then finally, we have our annual growth conference, which is the Dreamer Symposium, where it's designed to help business leaders, ministry leaders, and just all ambitious people create vision for the year. And so practically that's just saying, hey, what are your goals for the year? What is your personal goal, professional goal, and financial goal? And really, like I said, not just surface level, but really having depth to the goal. So people really understand, like they're tied to a deeper level on, okay, this is what I want to accomplish in this year, and really giving people language. So it's like leadership development, but also just like goal development for people. Just so that way they're not going into the year leaving any type of room for negotiating for themselves. But they're just going in clear. They're going in with a plan. Just because often, a lot of times, people just kind of go into the new year, which I believe is a great opportunity, but they go into the new year kind of just like, all right, we'll see what happens. Like, and it's like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. Like it just doesn't, if you just take some time to plan. And so that's pretty much just what I've built out, man. And it's amazing. Even as I'm like retelling it all, I'm just like, man, like I really remember when like I was making shirts and I was frustrated that I was only making like $1 off every shirt. Like, what in the world? But now, it's a pretty well-oiled machine. And so now I'm at the stage of really trying to figure out, okay, how do I, produce more me's, right? How we talked earlier about great leaders produce great leaders, where it's, okay, how do I really build this? Because, when the difference between what I'm doing with Craft Your Dream versus maybe another coach, which is not even a right or wrong thing, it's just different, is that I'm really trying to build an organization. I'm not really trying to be the face and, these concepts live and die with me. Like, I'm really trying to just build people who want to help people who want to help change the world. That's it. And so that's really like my goal now, is where I'm like, okay, now I'm in the team building stage of things, where now I have a team to help me put together this conference. And now ultimately I'll have a team to help me facilitate the programs and all these things. And that's just what I believe I'm called to do just in my business. So that's what Craft Your Dream is structured with. Like man, and I love it. It's great.
Well, I'm glad you say you had a team, because I was thinking you were listing all these things out, and I was like, if it's just you, that is crazy. Among all the other things that you're doing, I think that's inspiring. I mean, whether you have a team or not, you're clearly making an impact in so many different ways. I think, Trev, one thing Sam and I have learned through entrepreneurship and just life in general, that it is really sexy at the surface, and you can post all you want, you can get on a stage in front of 500 people, people come up to you after, take pictures with you, but they don't see the grind that goes into it. They don't see the hard days. The moment Sam calls me up every other week and says, dude, I don't know what we're doing. This is so hard. This is so challenging. There's no blueprint on how to do this thing. So I'm curious if you had a story of kind of that pain or that fear that you felt recently that you wanted to share with the nation, and how you overcame that.
Yeah, so man, a bunch of stories just literally flooded my mind. I'll tell the story that I believe just has me where I am today. So I told you guys earlier that when I first started out, I was doing online events. And I remember the very first online event I did was basically the Dreamer Symposium, but it was online. And I remember this vividly. I charged $30 a ticket, and it was the very first one. And I got 7 people to sign up. So, I was like, man, I've made it. Like, and keep in mind, this is like fresh out of college. Like, where's the money going to come from? I was still living with my parents at the time. So it's like, Jesus, I need to contribute something. So like, picture just having an online event. You make $210, and it's just like, oh my God, we're on to something. We've made it, right? It was like that type moment. So I pretty much just ran that play of like, all right, online events, that's what we're doing. So I literally planned out 12 online events. I covered principles, confidence building, strategizing, goal setting, the whole 9 throughout the entire year. And I remember I was hosting a principles event. And basically the whole purpose of the event was to help people create principles for their life. Like basically like, here are some guiding core principles for this is how I'm going to make decisions, this is how I'm going to live my life, all that. And I remember I think I charged like $25 for the event. And I remember there was like a couple of people who signed up. And at that point, like I had a little bit of momentum where like, okay, I kind of expect people to sign up, but I was still trying to figure, okay, how do I scale it? But people signed up. I'm like getting ready for the event, right? And I remember the event was scheduled for noon. It was a noon event. I log on 11:50. I'm excited. All right, whoever shows up, we're gonna give them. This is gonna be the best hour and a half of their week. Like I will make sure I'm showing up and everything. Time goes, maybe it's like 11:50, 11:55. No one's on yet. 11:58. All right. Admit anybody in the room. Like, you're checking the Zoom. Like, all right, do I need to admit anybody? Oh, nope. Nobody's still. 12 o'clock. All right. Nobody's still. Oh, all right. Well, people, they probably just getting home. Like, they probably get, 12:05. Oh, okay. 12:10. No one shows up. No one shows up. It's 12:15. It's 12:20. No one shows up. And I remember just being so defeated. Like, literally, like, wait a minute. People signed up. People need this. What in the world? Maybe I failed. Maybe this. Like, just literally all these negative thoughts. And I literally was like, I was ready to quit. Like, literally, like, in them, I was be like, man, I'm done with this. Like, I'm done. I'm good enough. I have enough skills. I'll just go get a job. Like, forget this. It's over. Like, this is stupid. This is just all these thoughts. And I remember, I don't even know what came over me, but just like this feeling of like, I can't quit. Like, but as much as I really wanted to, but it was just like something just like, no, you can't quit. So I remember just making the decision of like, you know what? I'm going to record this event as if there's thousands of people here. And I did the event. I still have the recording. Like nobody's on the Zoom call, but I am literally like presenting this information like there are thousands on this call. And I remember finishing it up and the recording, and I just bawling tears. But I was just like, I did it just from a place of like, all right, this is obviously not the result I wanted. And I really don't want to keep doing this. But because I'm making the decision not to quit, because I think for me, it was just like that would sit with me like for my life if I did. You know what I mean? Like just like one of those personal like regrets, I guess you could call it. Like literally like I have to live with the fact that I quit. And I just remember making a commitment to myself, like this will never happen again. Like this feeling, like literally like had one of those like motivating moments and conversations with myself. Like literally like this will never happen again. Like, whatever I have to do, I don't care if I have to drag people, call people, but I will make sure that this never happens again. And that was pretty much like where I took everything I was doing to a whole nother level. And to keep like, I was a one-man army then, and really I've been a one-man army until like maybe a year ago. And even then, like, I'm still like, one of the things I know that I'm gifted in is being able to accomplish and do a lot more than the average person, just in productivity. Not because I'm special, but I just like structure my life well. But like, literally, it was just like that commitment where I was like, oh no, this is not happening again. And I'm happy to say like it hasn't happened again. But there's always like that, before, whether it's at the symposium and it's like the morning of, I'm like, all right, people better show up. I'm calling people, hey, you on your way? Like, all right, all right. But literally, like, that experience is literally where I was like, okay, no. Like, but it was painful, bro. Like, painful. And I was like committed again to just saying, this will not happen again.
Well, I know Sam's going to jump in, but I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because I think inspiration and fuel comes from moments like that, comes from moments of pain, comes from moments of defeat and disappointment. That is where you build your fuel. That is where you build, wow, like, that was hurtful. I'm going to either give up, or I'm going to use my mental fortitude and hell yeah, I want to move forward so that never happens again. Or, you know what, I will always remember that, and that's my fuel. I remember that time when I was there. I'm going to keep going so I don't have that feeling again. And Trev, I appreciate you getting vulnerable with us and sharing that, because I'm sure you have an incredible program. I'm sure you have incredible pillars and foundations for people to use to so that they can go and live a life that they want. And when we're just starting out, we got to just convince people to come join us, to say, hey, like, like, we're just getting started. And I think it just shows it in entrepreneurship, right? Like, absolutely. Even though you think in your head that you got it all figured out, you got to go prove it time and time and time again. Yes. And then once you prove it and you get on the big stage, or you get the, 100 person in a room, guess what? It ends. And you got to prove it again and then again. And that's what elevating's all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. You can't, like, at least in entrepreneurship, like, if there's anyone watching and you're building a business, like, this is not about emotion. Like, you cannot run your business and grow a business on emotion. Like, you need to obviously be clear on purpose. But when it comes to executing and getting things done, it is not time to be, not doing something because you feel this or you feel that. Like, you need that mental fortitude to say, I will get this done. I will make this work. And I find even with just like a lot of clients that I coach who are building businesses, they allow that thought slow them down, where it's like, okay, no, like, if this is the type of business you're building and this is your offer, like, there is a level of this where you have to make it work. Like, okay, yes, tweak the marketing. Okay, yeah, you can maybe change how you email, and like, those are tweaks, but that's a part of, no, I have to make this work. Because a lot of times, just like in human nature, our first idea, we always think is the best idea. But when it doesn't work, or when people don't respond to it well, people don't buy, or whatever the result you're looking for is, you got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, how do I make this work? I do believe on the foundation I'm onto something, but I have to make some tweaks in the execution. And too often people just kind of throw away the entire idea just because it wasn't the $1 million thing its first time out. And most of the time it's not. It usually is not going to be.
I'm smiling and looking at Parker pretty much the entire time you're talking about that, because it could not hit closer to home for us. Here we are, fresh out of school. Let's start a podcast. We're personable. We know how to talk. We're going to be the next big thing. We're going to make so much money off of this. We're going to impact so many people. I think we had like 18 downloads our first episode. It also was a horrible episode. And we looked at each other and we're like, oh, this is about to be a lot harder than we thought, isn't it? And it's continued to feel like that every single day. Some things get easier, but what we like to say, the blessing and the curse of the elevator is, as soon as you feel like you've conquered one thing, you celebrate that win very quickly, and then you find the next thing that you want to go conquer.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, what will set all of us apart in the long run, is we will continue to find new ways to elevate ourselves, elevate our businesses, and elevate other people. And Trev, obviously, your story is incredible, of the perseverance that you are continuing to show and instilling in all the people that you teach. And so I want to move us into our rapid fire segment here with some quick hitting questions. First thing that comes to mind for you, I'm a basketball guy. I had to ask this one. What's the favorite place you've ever played hoops?
Well, John Paul Jones Arena. John Paul Jones Arena in Charlottesville, Virginia. Nothing like it. Nothing like home.
I was about to say, special being home court, feeling comfortable. Fans all know you. Don't have to go on a bus for an hour. That helps too.
Don't have to do any of that. Go right to my locker.
You got to play the home and home with Maryland when we were in school. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, listen, amazing battles with Maryland. Most of the time we won. So, that was fun too.
I mean, we had a solid squad that when we were in school. Sam and I both went to Maryland, right? Mello Trimble, our freshman year. I think we graduated the same year. Like, we had some good squads. Obviously, you guys had significantly better squad. But, I mean, we kept it close. I think we kept it close that one year you came to College Park.
Games. It was a competitive game. So, UVA, what you going to do? Good do.
Exactly. Well, this year's a little different story. That's a conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
We'll see in a month where we're at. My rapid fire for you, Trev, is what is your pre-speech routine? Like, give us one thing from your routine that you got to do every time before you get on stage in front of people.
So I actually have to jump up and down 20 times. That's that's like part of my secret sauce. Now, I did this before I really knew why I was doing it, but I actually learned there's this really good public speaker coach, and he explained why. But it basically helps get rid of the adrenaline. So but when you're about to go out on stage, right, and you're speaking in front of a bunch of people, and you see why speakers will have basically unnecessary movement. So they'll move around more than they need to. That's basically them. They have adrenaline that is stored up in their body. So before I go out, I basically jump up and down 20 times just to kind of get that adrenaline out. Just so that way when I'm up there, every movement, every word I speak, everything is very intentional while still being natural. So that's part of my secret sauce. All right, you guys are making me give up my secrets.
I mean, we got a lot of speaking events coming up for us in the next 3 months. I might need to take that one out of your playbook. I go for 6 mile run 2 hours before, but I don't think it does it. I mean, the one in Atlanta, they were playing the music. We're walking out. I'm fired up. I'm you try to bring the energy. You're getting on the stage. You're not going to be no, right from the bat, you got to bring the energy. But when you bring the energy, you're moving and you're shaking.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that can it helps because, of course, right, you want to bring energy to the room, but it can't hurt because then you can just really start talking really fast, and then you're out of breath. Then you're oh my God, what's my next point? And then it's oh my God, I'm far away from my notes. And then it's oh, so I've learned of okay, how do I bring energy in a way where I'm still in control of what the heck I'm doing, so I don't look like a clown up here.
Parker, you got to adopt that because your high fives before we go out on stage break my hand every single time. You have this serious look on your face. You don't even make eye contact with me, and you give me this the hardest little high five, and I'm dude,
it's game day.
Breathe.
That's the best thing about being a public speaker, that I have something now that it brings me back to game day. It's game day. You got a routine, you got prep, and then we're on. It's our time to deliver.
That's true.
And man, it's a good feeling when you walk off.
It is.
There's nothing like it.
All right, last rapid fire for you, Trev. I see you got some books behind you.
Yes.
Parker has more books behind you. I promise I have books. They're not behind me. We love to read. Do you have a book recommendation for Elevation Nation?
Well, Park, Sam, funny you should ask. So for all of those who are in need of a book recommendation,
I do my research. I know. I
came with my very first book. And if you have a dream lifestyle and you just need some principles that'll help you get started, I would encourage you to go read Get Started, 25 Principles to Craft Your Dream Lifestyle by yours truly. This book will basically equip you with practical tools to really get started on building the thing that keeps you up at night. Really give you practical tools to help you build the thing that you keep a secret that you're almost afraid of telling your friends about. Just because ultimately, in order for you to achieve that dream and that goal, you need to lead yourself well. So that book will help you get it done.
I said he was a Renaissance man, ladies and gentlemen. He does a little bit of it all.
I appreciate that, Sam. That was a great alley-oop. That's a great point guard right there.
Hey, I got you. Don't worry. Team effort.
Point guard backup Jalen Brunson right there. He learned from the best. I'm not kidding. I'm actually not kidding, Trev. They went to the same high
He's too
school.
short. We didn't throw alley-oops to Jalen very often, but yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. That's funny.
All right. Well, we're in for our last question of the podcast. It's a special one. And Trev, you got to see this in motion in one of our workshops. We believe that mental fortitude is a key piece for people so that they can elevate themselves in the real world and live the life that they want to live. And the way that we help people put their mental fortitude in practice is with a mental motto, which is a phrase, a quote, a slogan that you live your life by. Every elevator who's come on the podcast has a mental motto. Every person we speak to has a mental motto. And Sam and myself have a mental motto. So we're ready to hear your mental motto. Let's hear it.
So I actually have two, if that's okay. I have two mental mottos. The first one is they need me. Just anytime I'm in a tough spot or, like you said, I have to demonstrate that mental fortitude, I think they need me. And the they, most of the time people say like, oh, the haters, right? For me, it's that one person who just needs to hear whatever it is that I have to share. Because again, when you're at least starting off content, podcasts and things like that, you're looking, at least early on, you're looking at zeros and teens and, and you're looking at zeros and people are telling you they're watching your stuff. Like literally, it's just like, wait a minute, I'm looking at the analytics. Someone's lying here. And I don't think it's the numbers, right? But one of the things, like that's the motto for me is like, they need me. So I have to keep this podcast going. I have to keep building what I'm building. Because the one person who has a dream and just needs to hear you can do it, who just needs to hear, hey, here's an idea to structure your day, who needs these things. They need me, right? So that's the first one. The second one, just because of my faith in Jesus Christ, is just that God built me for this. So again, anytime I feel like I'm just in an impossible spot, which like feels more often than not, where I'm just in a spot of like, God, how do I do this? Like, what in the world? And again, I have those moments, even though like I teach people how to build businesses and all that stuff, but I have those moments where I'm like, how do I do this? I just remind myself like, God, you built me for this. I am literally manufactured for this. And I know that really sounds like real Terminator-ish, but like, that's how I think about it, where I'm like, literally like, okay, with everything I've experienced in my life, the things that I've overcome, the challenges I've overcome, the things that I've figured out, the information I know, like I've been engineered specifically for this and what I'm doing. And so that just gives me a level of hope, faith. It gives me a level of grit, more importantly, just to kind of become bigger than whatever problem I'm facing. So those are my two mental models. The first one just being they need me. The second one being that God built me for this.
Can you imagine if everyone believed in that they were made for this? They were made for the life that they were going to live?
Come on. I'm telling you, listen, one of the things I always say, the world will change when dreamers grow. Like when dreamers grow, the world will become a better place. 1,000%.
Couldn't agree more. I love that. Well, Trev, thank you for an awesome 48-minute conversation. I'm inspired. I feel like I learned so much from you. I love that we're talking a lot of the same language and doing the same kind of things, but at the same time, we got our own lanes. And you're inspiring people one way, Sam's inspiring people another, and then I'm inspiring people another way. And it's just cool to meet and connect with other people who are making the world a better place, and not to make a buck, but knowing that the buck might come because they're going to inspire so many people along that way.
Absolutely, man. You guys, thank you so much for having me. Like you said, it's beautiful to just speak the same language, be after the same thing, which is just helping people grow. Even while it is in different lanes, like the impact is still the same. And I mean, we're doing some good work and we got to keep it up. So I appreciate this. I know that this conversation is going to help a lot of people out there. So man, thank you guys again, really.
All right, Elevation Nation. Until next week, peace.